My name is Meer Post. I am Ken's grandfather on his father's side. I was born in 1892 in Tiraspol in the present-day Moldavia. Our family name was Postilnik in the old Russian Republic. Our family lived many generations in the region of Transnistria, a small area east of Moldavia on the west border of Ukraine. Tiraspol is the largest city of this region with presently about 120,000 residents. The Postilnik forefathers lived in this region in East Europe until about 1924 when I immigrated to the North America with my wife Ethel Rabinowitz and my oldest son, Picos, Ken's father. The city of Tiraspol was quite small back in the mid-19th century when my parents were born. The area is culturally very mixed with Moldavian, Romanian, Ukrainian, and Russian culture and language. My own birth certificate was issued in the Russian language and looked like this copy of a Jewish birth in Tiraspol at this time period. My father was Lev Postilnik, Ken's great-grandfather. He was born about 1860, probably in or near Tiraspol. My mother was Charna Rothberg and she was born about 1865, probably also in the region of Transnistria. I had one brother, Beryl, and two sisters, Tanya and Masha. I was the oldest child of my parents Lev and Karta Postilnik. My childhood in the small city of Tiraspol, with about 20,000 residents, was centered around the Jewish community of about 7,000. We had our own schools, prayer houses and cultural activities. Our Ashkenazi Jewish community had grown very fast over the prior generations before I entered school. At home our language was Yiddish, which developed in Eastern Europe as a Judeo-German language written in Hebrew but with a Germanic base. We also learned Russian, which was spoken by about two-thirds of Tiraspol. The chief rabbi and his family was a central figure in our community. Saul Avram Lerner and his wife Frida were very influential Jews in our area, as they also were involved the schools and prayer houses. Our life as a Jewish family in Tiraspol was often full of tense moments. The Jewish population had grown to many thousand by the turn of the century. Some local factories were owned by Jews and there were 2 Jewish schools, 4 prayer houses and several synagogues. The prospering community and with some wealthy Jewish families in our area caused resentment and jealousy amongst the non-Jewish community. In 1803 on Easter Day 49 Jews were massacred by frenzied mobs. Hundreds of others were seriously injured and thousands were left homeless, and the Jewish property was damaged and partially confiscated. As I got older and learned my profession as a carpenter, the government began to endorse anti-Semitic propaganda to create more anti-Jewish hatred. At the age of 20 I really didn't see a future for me in Tiraspol as a Jew. Many Jews began to leave our area to live in a more peaceful country. After our Jewish schooling was completed, many of us teenagers began to learn trade in a local workshop. Carpentry interested me, and in one of the local shops I learned this profession. This painting shows such a woodworking shop in Tiraspol in the early 1900s. There was a larger group of wealthy Jewish families in our community, even back during my father's childhood. In this photo is Yosef Tulchinsky, who certainly knew my father and before he married. Another influential Jewish couple my parents definitely knew was Yankel and Zlata Vadavaz, which were the same age as my parents Laba and Kata. This photo shows Tiraspol at the corner of Market and Well Street shortly after my birth. As one can see, there were lots of shops on the ground floor levels on the Market Street. As a child we often played in the children's park where this ornate tower on the nearby hill, which made it visible from practically everywhere in Tiraspol. The Bes Arabel River divided part of our hometown in the southwest, as can be seen in the master plan of Tiraspol. Simple open ferry boats were tied together to cross the river and connect part of our village. As can be seen, they were often overloaded with people. At the end of the First World War in 1918, at the age of 26, the region around Tiraspol had become a difficult atmosphere dominated by irredentist disputes and nationalist rivalries. Tiraspol at this time was still about 1/3 Jewish, but many of the Jews had already left the area and Russia. Things were not getting better for us. In year 1921 I met my wife Ethel Rabinowitz and we married soon after that. Our firstborn, a son Pinkas Pastelnik, Ken's father, made our family life perfect 2 years later. We soon began our preparations to leave Tiraspol in Russia as the tensions and situation for us would only be getting worse. Thousands of Jews had already left our area and many of them began a new life in Canada or the USA. The steam railroad service from Tiraspol out west over the border region of Romania was quite irregular at that time. We had to change trains and had long waiting for our connecting train on this journey. A trip like that would take 33 hours today but took us several days back then. The train first traveled west over the Russian border region near Iași and then on south over the cities of Bacău, Buzău, and Ploiești before we finally arrived in Bucharest near the northern border of Bulgaria. This first section of our journey ended in Bucharest in Romania in the late spring of 1924. Jewish friends of ours were able to share their home with us where we lived a month or so on the Strada Parumului in this house. Our steamship Braga left the port of Constanta, east of Bucharest around the middle of August on its journey across the Atlantic onto Halifax, Nova Scotia in Canada. The ship's route took our small family of 3 from the Black Sea over the Bosporus Ocean link Oda Strait of Istanbul heading south to the Mediterranean Sea. Our steamship stopped in the huge multicultural city of Istanbul to pick up and drop off passengers. Our 3-week journey on the SS Braga was loud, miserable, and most uncomfortable in the third class. The ship was filled with over 1,300 passengers with poor and cramped facilities on board. Based on the steamship prospect, one might have thought it was a luxurious trip. Crossing the Atlantic, after leaving Europe at the harbor Piraeus in Athens, seemed really endless, not seeing land for over 11 days. The reality of such a voyage across the Atlantic in third class was an ordeal, especially for our little son Pinkas and my wife Ethel. We felt like cattle in a small barn. My little son Pinkas, Ken's father, was just 1 year old when we began our new life on a new continent on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean, nearly 100 years ago. After nearly 3 weeks we left the SS Braga on the 30th of September in 1924 and set our feet on the Canadian shore. The rest of May's story in Canada and later in the USA is still to be told. I hope you enjoyed the little life story about our family post. I am happy to be able to share some of my past with you.